6 minutes. Have a lot going on, a lot of working parts. This is a really full room today, which is very exciting. In the middle of our summer, I know we have a lot of folks that we're going to be recognizing today, and I see some familiar faces who haven't been with us in a while. So it's nice to have folks like Jenny Lee and Sherry Dillon joining us again. As you can tell, I'm substituting for Micah Rata. Apparently, there is not a moratorium on travel for the president. So payback's going to be, you know what, after October. First up, we're going to have our call for introspection with Milton Courtney, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with Department, and then Jeff Big will introduce our guests. Milton.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Oh, y'all make me do this.
Good to see you, Miller.
My dad's here, everybody. And put my nickname always wrong everywhere. Just so it can be out there. My nickname is Man. Let it go. See it in the mic?
Lift up your voice.
Lift up my voice and the mic. My nickname is Man. Dad's here. So I'll say my nickname. Let me read this. As a member of the Kiwanis Club, the concept of freedom is to do the right thing, and it holds profound significance. This freedom is not merely the absence of constraints, an active choice to engage in service and betterment of the community. It's an opportunity to align personal values with collective actions, fostering a sense of responsibility and purpose. In the Kiwanis Club, we often find ourselves at the intersection of need and ability. The freedom to do the right thing means recognizing this junction and choosing to act. It's about seeing the challenges that face our community, whether it's supporting children, aiding the underprivileged, or addressing local issues, and deciding to contribute positively. This choice is liberating because it allows us to be agents of change, to transform empathy into action, and to witness the tangible impact of our efforts. Moreover, this freedom is intertwined with accountability. As Kiwanians, we are entrusted with the trust and resources of our members and supporters. The freedom to do the right thing means upholding this trust by being transparent, ethical, and committed to our mission. It calls for a balance between enthusiasm and prudence, ensuring that our initiatives are sustainable and truly beneficial. This freedom also involves a continuous process of self-reflection and growth. It challenges us to examine our motives, to ensure that our actions are guided by genuine partners and to desire for, and not by the desire for attention. It inspires us to collaborate and learn from each other and to build a community that is resilient and compassionate. In essence, the freedom to do the right thing as a member of the Kiwanis Club is both a privilege and a duty. It empowers us to make meaningful contributions while reminding us the ethical imperatives that guide our service. Testament to the belief that true freedom is found not in self-interest, but in the collective pursuit of a better world. Thank you.
Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, Kiwanians and guests. My name is Jeff Dick. I'm here to introduce our guests today. That's one of the great things about being a Kiwanian. Not only do I get to commune with my fellow Kiwanians, but I meet such interesting people that show up to our meetings each week. It's truly amazing and even a little bit humbling to meet such a variety of committed and dedicated people. So welcome. I'm going to ask those as we welcome you to please stand with your host and we will greet you. So first of all, Michael Shower from Anderson Capital is a guest of is that Anita Bell? Yep. Or Mike Bell, sorry. It's a handwriting issue. Sorry about that. Anita, Mike. Dick, thank you very much. Welcome. We welcome Dick Clark, who's here with Judy, our pianist. Welcome to Dick. We also welcome Katie Coleman and Anava Martino, who are the guests of Milton Hardy. Please stand. Welcome to you guys. We also have Bishop Milton Hardy with us. He's also with Milton Hardy. Thank you very much and welcome. We have Chris Stutzman, who is with Bridge Builders and is a guest of Ken Briggs. Welcome to you all. We also have Beth Davidson from Why Not Workshop and Dana Glenn from the Clean Valley Council. They're here as guests of Sherry Hart. Oh, sorry, as well as Courtney Plaster. Stand up to, oh, there she is. Welcome, Courtney. We also welcome Dana Glenn, who is also with us with Clean Valley Council and also a guest Sherry Hartman. There she stand up again. Thank you for that. I'll have you guys in order here. We have Natasha Ross from Virginia Tech, and she's a guest of Bert Boyd. Thank you for coming today. And then we have Chris Rouse of United Way of the Roanoke Valley, and he's here with Mr. Wilmer. Welcome. And then we also have as a guest of Sherry Hartman, Melissa Rudy and Carol Tarrant. You'll recognize Melissa's work in Larry the Log Perch. Thank you very much for that great book. And then we also have Rachel Hopkins from CHIP of the Roanoke Valley. She's a guest of Judy Clark. Oh. And Brian Ashford, who is with BNCTR, BN Controls of the Valley with and he's here with Joe Gator. I'm sorry if I got your organization mispronounced. You can maybe enlighten me later on that. Thank you. All right. And that's all I have for now.
Thanks so much, Jeff. That was a lot of work for you to do. So definitely earned your permanent member badge on that one. And just a big shout out to Melissa Rudy for traveling probably the farthest today, joining us from North Carolina, the author of our Larry the Log Perch. Next up, I'm going to announce the birthdays. I wonder if Judy could hit the keys for me a little bit after you finish chewing. This is a short list. So our patriotic baby, July 4th, Preston Tyler. July the 7th, Sam Lineberger Jr. July the 13th, David Farnham, who's here today. July 19th, Ken Mowbray. July 21st, Taylor Medley. July 23rd, Lori Bader Floyd. July 24th, Janie Bailey. And July 29th, Reggie Harris. Let's all sing happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Awesome. Okay, next up, we're going to learn about the very serious with young. I'm curious about this.
I couldn't get every detail on the spin. Yeah. Very humble and honored to put this together and share today. So my name is Luke Young. I was born on May 15th, 1979 in Idaho Falls, Idaho. For the first 4 years of my life, my parents lived in the town of Rigby, Idaho. If you've eaten French fries at any point in the last 50 years, chances are they were grown near that. Oh. My parents divorced when I was 5, and my mother, seeking both to distance herself and to further her education, enrolled in Brigham Young University's campus in Olympia, Ohio. I can vaguely remember my kindergarten class included a course on dance. We went swimming in the ocean every weekend and many weekdays. Since milk was expensive and rare on the island, the kids drank lots of water juice. Over the years, as my mother continued to finish her degrees for work, we moved around. From 4th to 6th grade, I was part of an experimental, gifted, and talented class in Chico, California. Lessons included making authentic style Native American arrows and bows from scratch, and how to hang for gold with homemade sluice boxes in the Sacramento River. In 8th grade, my family lived in Glen Springs, Colorado, outside of Aspen. My mother worked in public relations at the Aspen Chamber of Commerce, which explored spots for me and my sister to be junior marshals for the 4th of July parade. It started snowing in the middle of the 4th of July parade of that year. But I barely noticed. For then, at the age of 14, someone had handed me a bullhorn for the first time in my life. It just felt. My sister and I both went to high school in Orlando, Florida. I was in the visual and performing arts management program at Dr. Phillips High School, taking acting, singing, and dancing classes along with teenagers who already had arts. We had an actual Broadway dancer, some Mickey Mouse Club members, and a few boy band. We thought of every school year as the season. Every year, our theater department put on a Shakespeare piece, a modern straight play, a one-act play for competition, and a major musical. I went to the Walsh School of Foreign Service at Georgetown University for my undergraduate. I was immediately drawn into the theater clubs and the debate society. I made a name for myself in the theater group when I played the lead in a student-written play called True Stanley and the Magic 8 Ball. I further made a name for myself in debate for my long-winded and bombastic speeches, which always began and concluded, "I choose strong president." Some of my friends from both organizations also had another club in common, the Georgetown Solidarity Committee, a student protest organization devoted to labor rights. We occupied the office of the university president for 3 days in 1999, demanding full disclosure of all factory locations used by Nike to make Georgetown apparel. We got it. In 2000, I marched up Constitution Avenue to protest sweatshop labor during the IMF World Bank meetings, and someone handed me a bullhorn. Then too, it was awesome. The year 2000 was a busy year for me. It was during the fall of 2000 that I joined the Freemasons, the world's oldest fraternity. I am happy to talk anyone's ear off this organization. Joining and continuing this group has been one of the best things in my life. I've served as an officer and head of many groups in the last 20 years. I have spent many days and nights preparing, practicing, and performing the ceremonies for the law. I am now a 33rd degree Scottish Mason, and I am grateful for all my students. In the summer of 2000, I met Kim Winklewater, my first wife, while working at the King Kong ride at Universal Store. Ladies and gentlemen, just a few months to New York City Transit Office will be working on the train for evacuation Roosevelt Island. Once on board, there is no need for the smoking, rotating, or flash dog. On behalf of Texas and Universal Studios Florida, thank you for riding with us. Kim attended college in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and so what you know, I going to Dickinson Law School. It's now in Penn State. We got engaged shortly after we both graduated, and I decided to return to Northern Virginia to take a bar and practice. Kim with a Y and mine, first in 2010. My professional resume is not quite as but some general highlights of these. I have worked as a bank trust officer and in most cases focus on trust states. I have worked for a big bank, a small bank, a law firm, and a small. I work for myself. My coolest memory from my first job as a trust officer was getting a hold of a older old bearer student that's worth $2.5 million. For just that few moments, I was holding $2.5 million in my hand. I met my second wife Haley in 2012. Although we met through online dating, we discovered that the theater where she worked was half a block from my Mason's spot. We had probably been sharing network parts for years. We were married in West Virginia in 2018. In 2018, when we were seeking our first job, I sought out American National. Well, we now have two amazing daughters, Dana, 6, and Moira, 3. Sadly, Haley and I are now getting divorced, but we are married. Sherry sponsored me for Kiwanis in 2018, and I jumped in with both feet. I sold chicken wraps. I was seeing at Bloomberg Cape Bad sales. I did my best to ride the ship and get the pirate crews back on course during the first Cape Bad COVID. Back when my daughter Moira was born on Cape Bad Day. Kiwanis steel trains that helped my family immensely for both of my children. I have had an incredible life. I have seen and done much, and I can't wait to see for the next 45 years heading soon. I am very blessed in particular, and blessed to be informed.
But I think you can also have some testing and training into that crowd, very enjoyable thing. Mike, can you come up and start the video of this? Are you having trouble hearing me on this? So we've got Joe Gator coming up, and this is our Spring Fun Day recognition for Sherry Hartman and Joe Gator.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is our third year doing this Fun Day event. And we came up with this idea 3 years ago to be a blessing to the Melrose and the Lansdowne community. And every year it's gotten better and better. The video you're about to see was created by this young, talented young man right here, Brian Ashford. He's a teacher at Breckenridge and a coach at William Fleming. Tremendous young man, very talented. You need some kind of event that you want a class video done, this is the young man you want to see right here, Brian Ashford. So for any of y'all that have not had a chance to view Fun Day, I want to give you a quick 3-minute clip on Fun Day. Hard to cut off good music, amen? But I want you to know, we served over almost 700 people on that day. And just a great blessing to be able to serve people with ice cream, hamburgers, snow cones, hot dogs, everything free. And we've grown from so many partners. We had 34 partners, 40 partners. Every year, we're getting more partners every year. So this has become a tremendous community event. So I want to thank all of our sponsors, the volunteers, this great lady right here. You can do it without Miss Sherry Hall. So once again, thank you, Kiwanis, for your support.
The people, we have time to actually have folks come up front who helped that day. If you're here and you and others who've helped that day, whether you're a partner, or a Kiwanis Club member, we want to recognize you today and have you stand in front of the podium.
Right. And
we have a little gift to give each of you. So come on down and we'll get Joe in the front and center of this. Come on over, Joe. Line up on either side of Joe Gaither. You all, and I want to give a special shout out to Melissa.
Yeah, no, I.
That's
good, GD. Put all the line burners. I was gonna say. All right. Good luck. We're gonna have to make everybody smile. Sure. We gotta double up. We gotta get. Front back. Stand back. That's it. Come on, Bam Bam. All right.
Of the book that Melissa and we gave her. I don't make it. Come to create our. See the light. And I didn't see that our hopes. Of the. Great.
My teacher.
So this great group made Spring Fun Day happen in 2024. I have a gift for each of you, one of active seeds and a pair of gloves and a copy of Larry if you haven't gotten it yet. So thank you all so much. And stand up here by the side if you'd like your acknowledgement gifts from us. Thank you all so much. Joe Gaynor, who got it this year? Yes. Thank you so much, Sherry and Joe. Joe, that front video was awesome. It was just like being there. And it was a great event. Many of us were there. Many of us helped out as well. I'm going to go through some announcements with you all. So first up, I just want to say our fund committee has been working hard for some social events. On your table, you see a form like this. It's Stony Brook Vineyard. This is in Troutville. The date of this is Saturday, July 27th from 1 to 5. As you'll see, it's $15 per person. There is going to be a barbecue lunch. And we've also you'll be purchasing your own wine and bringing your own chair. And there will be music by Mark Folks as well. And Andre has promised that she's going to try and get us a shading spot. We've also got sign-up sheets on the tables for our watering the garden brigade. So you all know we've had 90+ days for a long time now. Nelson and I were just talking, it's been about 4 weeks since either of us mowed the grass. So our nature park could really use a little bit of TLC. If you have some time, please sign up to water the garden for us, and Cynthia or Sherry can help you with instructions on how to do that. Our environment committee is going to have a Zoom meeting next Monday, the 15th at 12:30. Strategic plan feedback. Bill Bestich and our strategic planning committee worked very hard to put together a draft plan. If you have any feedback, please get it to Bill Bestich no later than the 17th of July. Our book club group is meeting on Wednesday, July 24th at 6:30. That's a different time from the normal time. We have a great event coming up to honor our star auction winner. That's Bauer Heating and Air. If you all recall, last year we did an unveiling at the Star for that. We're going to do that again this summer. We're doing that July 25th at 10 a.m. It will be at the Mill Mountain Star. Our very own Mayor Lee is going to be there. Michael Brockton is also going to speak. And the chamber has very graciously allowed us to set that up as a ribbon cutting opportunity for our meeting in there. So please show up to that if you can. We'd love to have a strong Kiwanis presence. Now I'm going to ask Betsy and Don Witt to come up. They both have announcements that they would like to make. And they're going to keep them brief for me about 2 more things that we've got one thing.
Well, I went by the Culinary Garden yesterday, and I heard this small voice So we can sign up for that, but that isn't what I'm here for. I'm here for Ducky Derby. Now, most of you probably know what Ducky Derby is, but I'm gonna explain it to you. It's a fundraiser for the Capital District. And basically what it does is have it, it's a lottery. You sign up for it, and then, there's a drawing at the convention in August. And you get gift cards, you get money, all kinds of stuff. But that isn't the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to help finance 11 neonatal trauma centers in the hospitals within the district. And so you're really contributing to that. Now, it's easy to donate, if you will, on the table is a sign with a QR code. Now, we know Jim Randall is going to be the first to sign up. Because he knows what the QR code is. So, and it's very easy to make a quick donation. So appreciate all your support on that.
Hey guys, Betsy O'Hanlon, and I want to introduce you to Rachel. And Rachel is, what is your last name, Rachel? Rachel Hopkins, and she is the CEO of SHIP. And I'm gonna let her take like a minute to tell you about SHIP, because every year, for I don't know how many years, we have been collecting money for backpacks. And I'm gonna let you know that SHIP is not just about backpacks, it's about a lot more than that. So Rachel, if you just hear just a few sentences about what you do.
So CHIP has been around for over 35 years. We're a maternal and child health home visiting program. Really, we visit the family. We focus on what our total family needs. It's extremely comprehensive, and we acknowledge that families look very different these days. Right now, we have 6 great grandparents enrolled for raising their great grandchildren. So the Kiwanis she shared has provided backpacks for, I don't know about years, because I've only been CEO for 2, but for a long time. And because of this generous donation, we had a wonderful event on August 6th. Our kindergartners, well, they're going to school, beginning that journey for the first time, come, and we provide haircut, shoes, and they get fitted with their backpack. And to see them stand so strong and confidently and adjust and see what it feels like, and only about twice the height of the actual backpack. That's what that's the fun part of saying this is for you. So I want to thank you, and I also want to invite anyone here who would like to know more about SHIP. It's hard for me to put it into a few sentences, but I love providing tours, and I do know that the Kiwanis have been a very strong supporter of this program. So I thank you.
There is a form on your desk, on your table. Each backpack is going to cost about $50 this year. They're having their picnic to give out these, it's a picnic, correct?
So back to school event.
Back to school event on the 6th. That's not much time. Please don't leave here today without putting your name down on these sheets. These kids are so excited about their little backpacks. And there are about 47 children this year. And I just called the one at Walmart who gets all the materials, pulls everything. We don't have to do that anymore. She told me there were going to be about $48 to $50. Please pick these up, and because I'll be back next week. Thank you.
It's hard to get some facial seconds, but English are volunteer work these days. In the interest of time, we're going to review rank ups this week, and I apologize to anyone who had to make one. If we could have David Powers come up and introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our speaker today is Nelson Harris. He's been here before. He spoke first time on this book that he wrote about the Roanoke Valley in the 40s, and then the second one was about Back Creek. Today he's going to be speaking about Roanoke, the Roanoke Valley in the 1950s. Just a brief introduction. Nelson, of course, was served on the school board, city council, served as mayor, He's been a minister for 34 years and the pastor at Virginia Heights Baptist Church, now Heights Community Church, for 25 years. Nelson is married to Kathy. They had 3 boys all grown. He now has 3 grandchildren. He says 2 on the way. He's here to talk about the 50s, but if you wanted him to talk about the grandchildren, I'm sure he would be glad to do that as well. We all know, those of us who know Roanoke, have grown up here, know the famous volume of the early history of Roanoke by Raymond Barnes. Everybody talks about Raymond Barnes being really the legendary historian of early Roanoke. I would submit to you and say to you that there's no hyperbole in saying that Nelson Harris has now become the most noted historian of Roanoke Valley during our time. Please welcome Nelson Harris.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here, and I always enjoy coming and talking about the history of Roanoke and of the Roanoke Valley. And today I am here to talk about my latest book, The History of Roanoke Valley in the 1950s. And it is a rather thick book, it's 700 and some pages. And I want to just say before I begin my presentation, a word of appreciation to the Roanoke Public Library Foundation, which funded this book and the Roanoke Valley in the 1940s. Sheila Unberger is here, and she just does an outstanding job as a director of Roanoke Public Libraries. And so Sheila, thank you and the foundation for all the support you give me and many other things relative to the history of the Roanoke Valley. I also want to thank Mayor David Bowers for inviting me to come to be here at Kiwanis, and it's good to see Mayor Sherman Lee as well. What I want to do, I realize my time is limited, so we're going to do 2 things. I was hoping to kind of let the PowerPoint loop while we were at lunch. We had technical difficulties, and so I'm going to hit a few highlights, and then we'll kind of scroll through some images of the Roanoke Valley in the 1950s. A few things about the 50s economically. The Norfolk and Western Railway switched from steam to diesel. The American Viscose closed in southeast Roanoke. And for those of you that know the history of our city, you know that at one time, the American Viscose was the second largest employer in Roanoke at its zenith and had 5,000 employees. But the General Electric plant opened in Salem. And in 1957, the GE spokesperson came to Roanoke to celebrate the full operation of that plant. And if you don't know who the spokesperson was, it was Ronald Reagan. And so he came and was in the city for 2 or 3 days. And there's a picture of him at the WDBJ 7 studios. Also, local television went on the air in the 1950s. And so WSLS and WDBJ launched their programming. What many of you may not know is that WROV had a TV station for about 3 months. And they pulled it after about 3 months and said, you can't make money in television. And so with the airing of local television, we then had such local television personalities as Hondo Looney, Top of the Morning with Herb Sharp, Saturday Session with Dudley Townsend, Kathy Thornton with Panorama, Cactus Joe, Little Pete, Sunshine Sue. They're all in the book. We also launched some things in Roanoke that are still with us today. And so the Children's Zoo on Mill Mountain opened in the mid-50s. It was really quite a vivid. It was a huge civic undertaking. It was ultimately managed by the Roanoke Parks and Recreation Department. It was opened between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And at the beginning of every season, the Parks and Recreation Department would extend an invitation to local farmers and local residents that if you had trapped a raccoon or trapped a possum or had a lamb or had a deer, could you please bring it to the zoo for the season? And so I was telling this to a group and I said, these are all things now that children can see daily in Raleigh Court. But it was, of course, a children's petting zoo at the time, so not as sophisticated an operation as it is today. There's some great images in the book. There's over 300 images in the book, by the way, of the Roanoke Valley during that decade of the zoo in its early years. The Roanoke Symphony got started under the leadership of Gilbert Morrissey, who was its conductor. He had come down from Bluefield
to help start the symphony. Also, the Roanoke Fine Arts Center launched in the 50s, and that was kind of the forerunner of today's Taubman Museum. We also had in the 50s the beginning of the Miss Virginia pageant at the American Theater, Hotel Roanoke. And many of you, if you were here in Roanoke in the 1950s, know that that was quite an event. It always had a parade of convertibles with the contestants in it that kind of weaved its way through downtown Roanoke. We also had some civic events that were quite large that happened in Roanoke Valley. So Roanoke celebrated its 75th anniversary, the Diamond Jubilee. And again, many Roanokers that were here at that time remember that. It was about a 2-week long event with a dramatic production at Victory Stadium, parades, an expo, and all kinds of things that happened in our city to celebrate 75 years. We also had the launch of the Benton Dogwood Festival. Now, this is kind of interesting, and one of the things that I'm always drawn to is kind of the odd, the unusual, the anecdotal in putting these histories together. And the Benton Dogwood Festival got started as a band booster fundraiser for William Byrd High School. And if any of you have ever had kids in band, you know you're always doing a fundraiser. And so the band director at William Byrd High School decided one year that the fundraiser would be selling dogwood trees. And so they got out and started selling dogwood trees. It proved to be quite a hit. And so the next year they decided, you know what, we're going to take this up a notch. We're going to sell so many dogwood trees that Benton will be the dogwood capital per capita of the United States. Nobody will have more dogwood trees planted than the town of Benton. And so that was their goal, and they wrapped the festival around it. The Dogwood Festival came into being. Now, as we get to the latter part of the 1950s, the festival organizers decided, you know what? There's the Apple Blossom Festival up in Winchester. We can do just as good as they can do with our Dogwood Festival down here. And so for our parade, we need a notable grand marshal. And so they began reaching out to celebrities to come and to be the grand marshal. And so one year, they got a young guy. He was about 29 years old. He was starring the TV Western, Wanted, Dead or Alive. And so Steve McQueen came and was grand marshal for the Benton Dogwood Festival Parade. But it doesn't end there. He came, the parade was on Saturday, and he came in for a Friday night fast at the Benton War Memorial, where they had a beauty pageant, and so the contestants were there, and the band was going to play, and all this kind of thing. And so Steve McQueen walks in ladies, blue jeans, flannel shirt, leather vest, looking right off the set of Wanted, Dead or Alive. He ended up, I'm not making this up, I'm not stretching anything just for purposes of illustration, because of course pastors would never do that. So I'm not inventing here. So many young women courted him at the Benton War Memorial that the manager that had accompanied him went up to him and said, "Look, we're never going to get out of here, so here's the strategy. I've raised a window over there in the corner. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to bring the car around. It's a convertible. Bring the car around, park right outside that window. You climb out that window, you drop down in the convertible, and we can get out of this place." And that is exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. There's a great image of Steve McQueen in the Benton Dogwood Festival Parade. And of course, it is quintessential 1950s. He's riding a horse while smoking a cigarette. And of course, you know, when I go through the Roanoke Times, you get all the ads for the cigarettes. And of course, Chesterfield, 8 out of 10 doctors recommend. We also had the Today Show from NBC came to Roanoke and broadcast for 2 mornings live from our city. So day one, they broadcast live from the platform that is out in front of the Roanoke Star atop of Mill Mountain. And so provided, of course, a great vista of the Roanoke Valley. And the second day, they broadcast from the campus of Hollins College. Now, a couple of interesting things happened during that episode here in our city. First of all, of course, the NBC Today Show host was Dave Garroway. So he came and was all a part of that. But if you remember anything about the early years of the Today Show, they had a chimpanzee that was kind of a little bit of a mascot on the Today Show called Kokomo. And so Kokomo came. And one of the things that Kokomo was going to do was he was going to visit the children's ward over at Roanoke Memorial Hospital, which he did. And William Hand Flanagan was the administrator of the hospital at the time. He thought it'd be a great photo opportunity for he and the hospital with Kokomo there and kids. And so he showed up in the kids' room, and Kokomo was there. He reached out to kind of shake the hand of Kokomo, and Kokomo leapt at him and bit him on the chin. And, fortunately, Ham Flanagan just had it was nothing serious, but that ended up being the photo op that Ham Flanagan probably wished he had not have had. Also, the other interesting thing about the Today Show being here in Roanoke at that time was they did a broadcast live from inside Dixie Caverns. And it was the first time ever in American television that a broadcast had emanated live from underground. We also, of course, had in the 1950s the shadow cast by the Korean War, much as we did in the 1940s with World War II. So an appendix is at the back of the book of all of and in tribute to all of our casualties that we had in the Roanoke Valley during the Korean War. And I tried really not to just list the name, but to also list their military record and the date of their death, and the place of their death, and family. All of that, of course, being provided in news releases and obituaries at the time. And so it really is, I felt like something, a tribute to those men that died in the Korean conflict. We had an amazing lineup of entertainers that came through the Roanoke Valley in the 1950s. And of course, much as with the 1940s, we had stars of the Grand Ole Opry that would come through, and typically they would come through midweek, often playing on the stage of the old Roanoke Theater, which was in downtown Roanoke. And so almost on every Wednesday night, there were a few when Grand Ole Opry wasn't here, but most Wednesday nights, Grand Ole Opry was playing live. So we had Roy Acuff, often spearheading and being the kind of marquee name for that. A great story about entertainers that came through. Hank Snow came through one time on a weeknight, and he was the headline. And it's always interesting in these ads where the entertainers are coming through. Of course, the marquee name is the one that's in the big bold letters at the top, and then beneath the marquee talent or in smaller letters, some other maybe well-known personalities, but not quite the draw that the top man or woman is. And then at the very bottom of the ad will be in small letters, maybe somebody just nobody had ever heard of. So Hank Snow comes, and so whenever anybody came, I listed everybody that was going to be performing, whether I had ever heard of them or not. So everybody gets in the book. So Hank Snow comes, and I'm ticking off, I'm at the laptop and ticking off all the names, get down to the bottom, last name, small, Elvis. Elvis. And Elvis was with the Louisiana Hayride at that particular time. Hadn't quite made it big, but there he is. So he came to Roanoke. Now here's the rest of the story. The Roanoke Chamber of Commerce wanted to have a fundraiser for Sandlot football here in town. And so they reached out to Hank Snow, and they asked him if he could come back and do a charity concert, a benefit concert for them on behalf of Sandlot football program here in the city. And Hank Snow agreed, but he also had an additional request, because again, it's just been 3 or 4 months since he had been in town, and the additional request was, if possible, could you bring back Elvis Presley? And so Elvis Presley came back. So I can honestly tell you, Elvis Presley came and did a benefit concert for Sandlot football in the city of Roanoke. And you know what the takeaway from that is? We launched Elvis Presley here in Roanoke. I want you to know that. Little Richard came. Now here's another kind of amazing thing with the entertainers. If you go to a concert today, you pay for a ticket, $2,000 or whatever, you get an hour concert. Well, these concerts, you know, $1.75, and it'd be 3 hour, 3 hour show. Might have 6 to 8 top name entertainers. Little Richard came. Little Richard performed over at the old American Legion Auditorium, which happened burned in '57. And anyway, did 2 shows. He did 2 shows. And the first show was from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. 3 hours. He took an hour break. And the second show was midnight to 3 in the mornings. That was Little Richard. That was Little Richard. So when all of us see these old clips of like high energy Little Richard just going at it, you know, up on the platform and with the music and whatnot. I mean, can you imagine any entertainer today, first of all, doing a 3 hour show, secondly, doing 2 3-hour shows back to back? You could have seen all of that for $1.25. We also had other folks that came in addition to Roy Acuff and Elvis and Little Richard. Marian Anderson came, of fame, of course, for singing there at the Lincoln Memorial, and it kind of became an iconic moment in the civil rights movement. She was sponsored, by the way, by Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church. Chet Atkins, Gene Autry, a young Johnny Cash, Nat King Cole, Count Basie, the Everly Brothers, Chuck Berry, Ray Price, Kitty Wells, Lionel Hampton, Fats Domino, Hank Snow, Bo Diddley, Tommy Dorsey, Duke Ellington, and Mahalia Jackson. And we could go on. But I do want you to know that every entertainer that came, you know, and the performance and where they performed is all in the book. The venues tended to be the American Theater, the American Legion Auditorium. After that burned, we really lost, as a Roanoke Valley, the main venue for entertainment and civic events. And so in the late 50s, when performers would come, they would often perform in the auditoriums of Andrew Lewis High School or Jefferson High School, or at the Pavilion at Lakeside. We also, the book covers sports. And so for those of you that might remember, the Harvest Bowl game and week and weekend all launched in the 1950s. That was a fundraising effort by the Junior League of the Roanoke Valley. Also, Mountain View Golf Course, which is now Old Monterey Golf Course, had a Pro-Am Invitational golf tournament. 150 golfers entered. And again, it's Pro-Am. So we had top amateurs and we had a number of professional golfers that came in and participated in that. And the golfer that won the event and won $350 was Arnold Palmer. And so there's an image of Arnold Palmer standing there with his trophy and his check, which I did the inflation calculator on it today, and that $350 then would be about $3,400 today. So slightly out of range of PGA winnings today, but Arnold Palmer came. Of course, we also saw a lot of shifts culturally, and two I want to mention briefly. One is the advent of television. It really changed people's leisure habits, and it had consequences to it. So one of them was the Roanoke Red Sox minor league baseball team that we had here went bankrupt in the 1950s. Management attributed that directly to television because people, of course, could watch Major League Baseball games at home on TV. And so what had been a major kind of draw for people to go and see a baseball game, attendance dropped off significantly, and the Red Sox could not even complete their season. We also began to see by the end of the 1950s, some of the old movie houses in downtown Roanoke began to, for example, close for the summer, or began to show double and triple features, all in an effort to get people away from the television and back to the movie theater. The other thing that was kind of was a cultural shift in the 1950s was car culture. In the 1940s, because of rationing, there were no new cars basically in the second half of that decade. Well, with the 1950s, every manufacturer of cars is now coming out with all of these model cars. And you know, for those of you, and I'm not a car aficionado per se, but 1950s era cars had personality. Did they not? I mean, now today you can't tell the difference between a Honda and a Toyota. but you could between a Chevy and a Ford in the 1950s. And so we had car culture. And so we had drive-in movie theaters as a result of car culture, drive-in restaurants as a result. And so a lot of them are pictured in the book. We also had the Bank of Salem, did something new for banking. Drive-through banking. You could pull your car up, I had to get out of the car. Of course, you had to do that between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Because, banks didn't stay open that long. But we had the advent of car culture. One of the things that really dramatically kind of emphasized that was the opening of Searstown. Searstown opened near the intersection of Williamson Road and Orange Avenue, and Sears at a corporate level made the decision. So this was not just germane to the Roanoke Sears. This was a corporate decision that they were leaving America's downtowns. They were going to cater specifically to the car culture. And so they would go outside of the downtown areas where their stores were located and open up what they called Searstown. And Searstown prided itself on the fact that you could go to Sears and basically get anything you wanted. So you could get tires, you could get Allstate insurance, you could eat, you could get clothes, you name it, they had it. They'd always partner with some grocery chain to have a grocery store nearby so you could do grocery shopping. This was all so that you could do all the shopping you needed, park for free, and never move your car. So when Searstown opened, it really began as a kind of a foreshadowing of the decline that we would later see in retail in downtown Roanoke in the 60s. So I'm working on the Roanoke Valley in the 1960s. And so in 1960 and 61, we had Roanoke Salem Plaza open, Crossroads Mall open. It was the first mall here in town. And we had Tower Shopping Center open. So all the shopping malls and shopping centers are beginning to open. And you can already see downtown retail businesses peeling away to go to these places. But Searstown was the one that kind of spearheaded this whole idea that we can offer free parking, one-stop shopping, and do it in a way that is convenient. And then, of course, to kind of put the cherry on top of the ice cream, Santa Claus did not arrive by fire truck at Searstown, did not arrive on Christmas float at Searstown. Santa Claus arrived by helicopter at Searstown. And the Grand Ole Opry no longer played stage at the Roanoke Theater. After Searstown opened, they played in the parking lot of Searstown. You get my drift. You get my drift. We also had some things that are very significant for our community that are documented in this book. We had the beginning of what we have commonly come to call urban renewal. It's specifically called the Commonwealth Project. And so that is beginning to nip away little by little in the late 50s in raising much of what would eventually be almost all of Northeast Roanoke. Just want to say to you that while that was a federal subsidized effort, it had to be approved locally. And the Commonwealth Project, i.e. urban renewal, was approved by Roanoke City Council on a vote of 4-3. So I just say that because as those of us that have served in local office, a lot of people don't think local elections matter. They really do matter. And so if one member of council had shifted their vote that day, we might have a bit of a different city. We also had the opportunity for women to serve on juries. That kind of seems kind of late. By the time we get to the 50s, that should have happened earlier, but women were allowed to serve on juries. And so the court system sent out postcards to all the registered voter ladies in Roanoke, asking them, it was voluntary, you weren't drafted to serve on a jury, you could volunteer to serve on a jury. So they sent them out a little postcard to see if there was interest. And the clerk of the court reported back that 92% postcards they got from the women of Roanoke said they were not interested in serving on a jury. We had, of course, the Brown v. Board of Education decision in 1954, and how that kind of sifted out in terms of desegregation of public schools. Virginia's political response at the time, the bird machine, was what was called massive resistance, which means basically that we will do everything possible to circumvent the decision and to prevent the integration of public schools. And so there were a variety of tactics and things that were used. But one of the things that the book talks about is how that happened and how desegregation happened locally. How did it happen in Roanoke County? And so much of that is covered in the book. You might be interested to know that the first public school system in our region, now I'm broadening the footprint here of the book, but the first public school system in the region to begin the process of desegregation, surprisingly, Floyd County is the first one. We also had voter registration drives, efforts to eliminate the poll tax. And then, of course, we had segregated, really, theaters, segregated shows, segregated dances. And so if you've been following the loop, there's Sheena of the Jungle for your viewing pleasure there now. But if you've been following that, there's some old ads. And so when Duke Ellington came, for example, at the American Legion Auditorium, we would find that if it was a floor show and dance, that Black patrons were on the floor, whites were spectating in the balcony. If it was Tommy Dorsey, you just flipped that equation. So it was still very much a segregated society. So that is kind of a little bit of some highlights verbally of the 1950s. And of course, at the time when we wanted our loop to work, it didn't. And when we didn't want the loop to work, it's been looping the whole time I've been speaking. So you've got some images like the one in front of you. This is Dudley Townsend, one of the local dance shows, Saturday Session. And so really I'm trying to capture politics, sports, recreation, entertainment, business, all kinds of elements and aspects to the life and the history of the Roanoke Valley in the 1950s. Again, a little over 300 photographs in the book itself. And there's some cool old advertisements. Do want to say that I did bring some books with me. They are rather heavy, as you can imagine, and so I'd love it if I didn't have to take any back to the car. The price is $50, and all monies go to the Roanoke Public Library Foundation. So if you'd like to get a book and support a wonderful organization, you can do that before you leave. So I'm not sure where we are on time, if we've got time for Q&A or if I'm done or, oh, I'm done. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Great. Great.
We're also going to round with books and answer questions for you after. And this is an honorarium that's also going to the Library Foundation. I should probably just hand it directly to Sheila, but there we are. Thank you so much, Nelson. That was really great. So next week, you'll be joining us for Nikki Austin Hicks, who will be talking about Alzheimer's law and talking to us about Alzheimer's in the region as well. And thank you all very much. We have a lot on our agenda today, and I appreciate your patience with us getting through everything. And don't forget, Nelson will be around to answer questions and science books. Thank you.
That's something. Perfect. That's what you have. In fact, I think you always have. But that's